Hey everyone, this is a clip from a recent episode of Another Pass, where we talk about movies and all the struggles that go into making them. If you like it, check out the whole podcast. You can find it at certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts. So this is a movie that is written and directed by Luc Besson, who every time we talk about this movie, or every ad for this movie is like, the creator of The Fifth Element, which is a movie I love. Like everyone talks about it because people involved in the comic for Valerian were involved in that. So there was a lot of like art that went into it, and there's like a lot of stuff going on. But it is actually technically a French movie. So even though they shot with English-speaking actors, it was shot in France, and the intent was for it to be a French production. And so even though it is expensive, in fact, it's considered the most expensive European production to date.
I guess that
$223 million.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
It does kind of look like it. Honestly, the visuals in this movie are really, really good. So
yeah,
it's a beautiful film. I mean,
yeah.
I think if we're just talking about the positives of this film, it's that it is actually beautifully done, and the worlds, whether they're on a flying spaceship, like space station with hundreds of different cultures that have created a huge space city, or they're on a planet or anything like that. It's a beautiful film. You know, visually it's stunning.
Unfortunately.
And that's a good thing. And that is a good thing. That is a good thing, positive thing right up top.
I will say that, unfortunately, what this means is that when I saw a trailer for this movie, like in theaters back in like 2017, I thought it looked incredible. I went into that movie with high expectations. That was a mistake. Because the first time I saw this movie, I was so let down that like I barely even registered the stuff that was actually good. So rewatching it for this podcast, I was like, oh man, you know, this intro is really working for me. And then the second intro is really working for me. And then as soon as the characters started talking in English, I was like, oh no, now I remember why I didn't like this movie very much.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a theory about that for movies that are made, even if they're made to be viewed by an English audience, but they're made from a foreign director, that oftentimes they lend themselves to not be like actors directors, because there's a little, just enough of a language delay that like the type of delivery sometimes doesn't cover it quite right, or like the way the joke sounds, like there's that post-processing of like someone where English isn't your first language but you're the director of it. It like, oh, that sounds fine because like it's moving slow enough, or the delivery is like stilted enough that like you can catch it all. But a native speaker would be like, oh well, that's broken up in a way that a normal person wouldn't say that, or things like that.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I actually have a theory on why exactly the very beginning of this movie sort of suddenly stumbles, because of course the first scene is that beautiful montage to Major Tom, you know, no dialogue, just showing the formation of this satellite, almost entirely wordless storytelling, minus a little bit of basically narration of like, oh, the satellite's too big, we're going to send it into space. Okay, there it goes, bye. Yep. And then we get the
Every
second
now and then,
scene.
like greetings or something like that.
Yeah, like handshakes, you know, hello, stuff like that. And then we get the second scene, which is on the Pearl planet, which is absolutely gorgeous, and nobody's speaking English. They're aliens. It's great. And then as soon as we meet the two main characters, it already starts going downhill. But the problem is, in the middle of their introduction, there's like a 1.5-minute long one take where they're just walking down this hallway talking at each other. And the problem with one takes is they really put a lot more strain on the actors than like any other form of, because suddenly the actor has to memorize more lines and blocking for this one scene and get it all right, and they know if they mess anything up they have to start over from the beginning, whereas if it's just camera A, camera B stuff, you know, you're only memorizing like one line, one beat of the performance. And this is our introduction to these characters, so we're getting to know them at their absolutely most stilted and awkward, when the least of the character is showing through, because the actors are too busy like trying to remember every like, as you know, Bob, they have to rattle off to make sure the audience knows their entire military record and that they're attracted to each other but not in a relationship. So I think
they're kind of in a relationship already.
They're in a it's complicated, right?
Yeah.
They're in a we have something but nothing kind of relationship. And
it's like, it's physical, but is it emotional? Who knows? And it's just, but also what a weird choice to make that a one take, because like, you know, directors do wonders to show off, but it's like, what are you showing off here? They're walking down a hallway and then you put some VFX on top.
Yeah. It is very awkward, and they're trying to like very quickly rattle off things and one up each other in this, and it feels like they're trying to, like, it's like a Walk With Me Sorkin moment, but it's not that important. Like, I don't, like, it's just like, oh yeah, show me the wall of all of his girlfriends and all his conquests, and it's like, wait, what? Like, why? Like, and it feels like you're doing it to kind of give us exposition rather than actual dialogue, and so then that feels awkward to the viewer, because it's like all this information that they're rattling off that suddenly we're supposed to, like, absorb and, like, make judgments about these characters in the moment while the actors are being it is awkward for everyone. It is awkward for us watching, and it's awkward for them doing it.
It's so painful. Every time I thought they were out of exposition, they found something else to be like, look, we both know that we do this stuff for a living. And I'm like, yeah, you do both know that. So why am I hearing about it? Oh, man.
Remember, if you like that clip, check out the podcast. You can find it at certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.